My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 28 years old. And yesterday I watched my 27-year-old boyfriend, Mason Hale, pack my life into a used moving box, while lecturing me about how fortunate I had been to spend 3 years with him. The irony would have been funny if I hadn't been so tired. Mason was conventionally handsome, not simply attractive, but the kind of handsome that caused strangers to forgive his rudeness before he apologized. He had dark hair that always fell perfectly without effort, an expensive smile, and the absolute certainty of a man who had spent his entire life being told that his face was a personality. He knew what people saw when he entered a room, and he used it like currency. For the first 2 years, he made me feel chosen. During the final 8 months, he treated me like his personal assistant, private bank, housekeeper, and emotional punching bag. Then, whenever I looked exhausted, he reminded me that women like me did not usually end up with men like him. Yesterday's explosion began because I forgot his dry cleaning. That was all. I had worked a 12-hour shift, stopped for the groceries he texted me to buy, and cooked the dinner he requested, somewhere between the crowded supermarket and the pot boiling over on the stove. I forgot to collect 3 shirts and a navy suit. Mason walked into the kitchen, looked at the grocery bags, then asked, "Where's my dry cleaning?" My stomach tightened before I answered. "I forgot. I'm sorry. I can get it tomorrow morning." He stared at me as if I had confessed to something unforgivable. "You're useless, Evain. Completely useless." The wooden spoon remained in my hand. Tomato sauce dripped onto the tile. But neither of us moved to clean it. I worked 12 hours, and I asked you to do one simple thing. I bought the groceries. I made dinner. He laughed without humor. "Do you want applause for functioning like an adult?" Then he walked into the bedroom and returned, carrying a cardboard box. "I'm done pretending this works." He began grabbing my things from the living room. My novels, my headphones, the framed photograph of my younger sister and me at her graduation. He tossed them into the box without looking at what he might break. "You don't deserve me," he said. "I've been settling for you since the beginning." I stood beside the kitchen counter, strangely calm, while something inside me finally stopped struggling. "Bianca would never forget something important to me," he continued. Bianca was his ex-girlfriend, a polished corporate consultant whom he mentioned whenever he wanted me to feel inadequate. According to Mason, Bianca remembered every appointment, wore designer clothes, understood expensive restaurants, and never questioned him. I had always wondered why such a flawless relationship ended. 2 weeks earlier, I learned the answer. Bianca's husband had found out about Mason. I did not yet have proof of how recently they had resumed seeing each other, but I had seen Bianca's name flash across Mason's phone after midnight. I had also watched him turn the screen face down and accuse me of being insecure before I even asked who was calling. Mason picked up my favorite gray sweater and gave me the familiar smirk he wore whenever he believed he had found the exact words that would hurt me. "You know what? We're over. Take your stuff and get out." "Okay." His hand froze around the sweater. "What?" I said okay. "That's it." His voice rose. "You're not going to fight for us?" "No." He stared at me, waiting for the tears. The apology? Or the desperate promise to improve? Those were the reactions he understood. My calmness seemed to frighten him more than anger ever could. Then he laughed. It was cruel, loud, and deliberately dismissive. "Oh, please. You'll never find anyone better than me. Look at me, Evain. Then look at yourself. You're lucky I gave you 3 years." I met his eyes. I already did. The room became silent except for the bubbling sauce behind me. His expression shifted from amusement to confusion, then disbelief, and finally rage. "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means exactly what I said. You're lying." I took the sweater from his hand and placed it carefully inside the box. I don't need you to believe me. What Mason did not know was that I had emotionally left months earlier. The insults, the comparisons, and the way he flirted with women in front of me before calling me jealous had worn away everything I once felt. I had simply been waiting to leave with enough dignity to recognize myself afterward. 2 months earlier, I met Noah Bennett at a board game cafe. We were both alone, waiting to join an open table. And he asked whether I knew how to play a strategy game. Neither of us had actually played before. We lost badly and laughed for almost an hour. Noah was a veterinary technician. He loved horror films, old mystery novels, and terrible coffee. More importantly, he listened when I spoke. He never made kindness feel like a favor I had to repay. We became friends. Only friends. I refused to cheat, even after Mason had made loyalty feel pointless. But Noah showed me what it was like to sit beside someone who genuinely enjoyed my company. Around him, I did not rehearse every sentence before speaking. I did not apologize for laughing too loudly. I did not feel grateful simply because he looked at me. Mason followed me through the apartment as I packed. "You're pathetic." I folded another shirt. "Nobody else is going to want you." I texted my closest friend, Claire, asking whether I could stay with her. Her response arrived immediately. Finally leaving the Prince of Darkness. Doors open. Mason kept talking. "You'll come crawling back in a week." I closed the box and lifted it into my arms. As I reached the doorway, he called after me. "When you realize what you've lost, I won't take you back. Do you hear me? This is your last chance." Good to know. I left without looking behind me. That night, I slept on Claire's sofa. The next morning, after telling Noah the relationship was officially over, I posted a photograph of us at a pumpkin patch from the previous weekend. The caption read, "Sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for." Officially introducing my boyfriend and my best friend for the last 2 months. Here's to new beginnings. Within minutes, my phone began vibrating. Before noon, I learned that Mason had already told everyone he dumped me, because I was an irresponsible woman who expected him to take care of everything. He posted a long speech about knowing his worth and refusing to settle. His friends filled the comments. "King, Halos, you were always too good for her." Then they found my post. Claire commented first. "About time you found someone who appreciates you." My sister wrote, "He makes you smile like yourself again." But the comment that changed everything came from Mason's friend, Hannah. "Wait. You were already seeing someone else." One question mark was enough to crack Mason's entire story. An hour later, a fake account appeared beneath one of Noah's photographs. "Evelyn's ex-boyfriend here. Just warning you that she's a cheater and a liar. Check her phone if you don't believe me. Good luck." Noah sent me a screenshot. I called him immediately and explained everything, including Bianca, the midnight messages, and the fact that I waited until Mason ended our relationship before making anything official. Noah remained quiet for several seconds. Then he said, "He picked the wrong person to lie about you to." That evening, Noah posted the screenshot to his story. He wrote, "Imagine stalking your ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend to accuse her of cheating when she stayed loyal while you treated her like garbage. She told me everything, including Bianca. Apparently, her husband knows too. Embarrassing." My breath caught when I read the final sentence. I had never told Noah that Bianca's husband knew. When I asked him what he meant, another message appeared on my phone. It was from the property manager of the apartment Mason had just forced me to leave. "Evelyn, I need to speak with you about several late-night visits involving Mason and a woman named Bianca." The property manager's message sat on my screen for almost a full minute before I answered. "What kind of visits?" she called instead of replying. Her voice was careful, professional. But beneath it, I heard the unmistakable tone of someone who had already connected several unpleasant dots. "We've received repeated complaints over the last few months," she said. "A woman matching Bianca's description was seen entering the apartment after midnight. There were also noise complaints associated with those visits. My hand tightened around the phone. How often? At least 6 documented incidents. 6. I remembered 6 mornings when Mason had complained that I slept too deeply. 6 mornings, when something in the apartment felt subtly wrong. A wine glass in the sink, when I had gone to bed early. His shirt buttoned incorrectly. A perfume I did not wear, lingering near the hallway. I had explained every sign away because the truth felt too humiliating to face. The property manager continued. Mason recently contacted us, claiming you had unauthorized guests. But the only repeated unregistered guest connected to your unit was Bianca. I thanked her, and ended the call. Noah was sitting across from me, at Claire's kitchen table. He had come over after work with coffee and a bag of pastries nobody had asked him to bring. He took one look at my face. It was true. I nodded. For a moment, I expected anger. Instead, Noah moved his chair closer and rested his hand beside mine, not touching me until I turned my palm upward. I'm sorry, he said. That nearly broke me. Mason had trained me to believe sympathy was weakness. Noah offered it without demanding anything in return. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. A message from Hannah. I think you should see this. She sent a screenshot from the apartment group chat. Mason had written, reminder that overnight guests must be registered if they stay more than 3 nights a week. Some people seem to think rules don't apply to them. The property manager responded publicly, this group is for building-wide announcements only. Personal disputes should not be posted here. Mason replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Then, he privately accused me of bringing Noah into the apartment while we were still together. The accusation would have been almost funny if he had not been so desperate to rewrite reality. I showed Noah. He's trying to create evidence after the fact. He said, he thinks if he repeats something enough, people will believe him. Did they usually? Yes. The answer came too quickly. That evening, Noah posted the screenshot from Mason's fake account, along with a short explanation that we had only made our relationship official after Mason ended mine. He did not insult Mason. He did not exaggerate. He simply placed the truth where Mason's lies could no longer hide it. Noah had more than 3,000 followers from the pet care videos he made after work. Most of them were harmless clips about anxious dogs, stubborn cats, and emergency first aid. Within an hour, hundreds of people had seen his post. Then the fake account began sending messages. You're not even attractive. She's using you. She'll come back to me. You'll never be what I was. Noah blocked it. Another account appeared 10 minutes later. Then another. By midnight, screenshots of Mason's fake profiles had spread through our mutual friend group. The comments beneath his "Know Your Worth" post changed. Didn't you cheat with Bianca? Why are you stalking Evelyn's boyfriend? This is getting embarrassing. Mason deleted several comments, then disabled them entirely. The next morning, Hannah called me. I need to apologize, she said before I could speak. For what? For believing him. She explained that Mason had told everyone I was emotionally abusive. He claimed I controlled his money, isolated him from friends, and forced him to live according to my schedule. The stories were so specific that they sounded convincing, only they were descriptions of what he had done to me. Hannah lowered her voice. There's something else. Bianca's husband found the messages. My stomach dropped. How do you know? Bianca called Mason last night. He answered while he was at Vanessa's apartment. They heard the whole argument. According to Hannah, Bianca's husband had discovered months of messages between them, including photographs Mason had sent from the law firm where he worked as a paralegal. Some messages had been sent through his company email. Bianca was not just his ex-girlfriend. Her husband's company was also a client of Mason's firm. The conflict was immediate and catastrophic. By lunchtime, Bianca's husband contacted me through Facebook. His name was Daniel. His message was calm. I'm not contacting you to blame you. I need to know whether Bianca and Mason were seeing each other while you were still together. I stared at the screen before answering. Then I told him everything, The 2 in the morning visits, the noise complaints, the perfume in the hallway, the hidden calls, the way Mason constantly compared me to Bianca, while pretending she was only part of his past. Daniel thanked me. His final message read, "He is about to have much bigger problems than you moving on." The next morning, Mason's Instagram disappeared. His Facebook became private. Vanessa texted me asking whether I still had any of Mason's belongings because he needed to leave town and stay with his parents. I responded that I had taken only what belonged to me. She replied 5 minutes later, "He's been fired." The law firm had not merely terminated him. They had begun an internal investigation. Sending explicit photographs from a work computer would have been enough. Conducting an affair with the spouse of a client created a second layer of professional misconduct. Sharing confidential scheduling information with Bianca created a third. The firm claimed Mason's actions damaged their relationship with Daniel's company. There was even discussion of legal action. For one fleeting moment, I wondered whether Mason would finally understand that he had caused his own collapse. Then, at 6 o'clock the following morning, he appeared outside Claire's house. He pounded on the door hard enough to wake the neighbors. Claire checked the security camera and whispered, "He looks insane." Mason stood on the porch, wearing yesterday's clothes. His hair was disordered, and his eyes looked swollen from either crying or not sleeping. "Evelyn," he shouted, "come outside." Claire opened the door only far enough to speak through the chain. "You need to leave. I'm here for my belongings." "You don't have belongings here. She stole things from me." I stood at the end of the hallway, every instinct telling me to disappear, but then Mason saw my shadow. "There she is. You ruined my life." Claire lifted her phone and began recording. "I didn't contact your job," I said. "You told Bianca's husband. He contacted me." "You could have lied." His answer silenced me. To Mason, truth was something other people were supposed to distort in order to protect him. A neighbor called the police. When 2 officers arrived, Mason immediately changed his tone. He claimed he was calmly trying to recover stolen property. One officer asked him to identify what had been stolen. Mason opened his mouth, then hesitated. "The television." I stepped onto the porch. "I bought it. I have the receipt." "The coffee machine." "Claire's." "My clothes. They're still at the apartment." His face flushed. The second officer looked at him. "Then why are you here?" Mason pointed at me. "To make her understand what she's done." Claire's camera captured every word. The officer's expression hardened. "Did she force you to use your work computer to send inappropriate material?" "That's not the point." "Did she force you?" Mason looked from one officer to the other. "She told them." Told who? The officer asked. Mason had no answer. The police warned him that returning could lead to harassment charges. He argued until they threatened to remove him physically. Afterward, he sat inside his car across the street for almost 3 hours. Claire's security camera recorded that too. He remained on the phone the entire time, probably trying to find someone who would still believe him. By then, most of his friends had stopped answering. Vanessa contacted me again later that afternoon. This time, she was not defending him. I had no idea. She wrote, "Not about Bianca. Not about the fake accounts. Not about any of it." Then she told me something I had never known. Mason had been borrowing money from nearly everyone. $500 from Hannah for a car repair that never happened. $2,000 from another friend for medical bills that did not exist. Small amounts from coworkers, always accompanied by an emergency and a promise to repay them after payday. He had used his appearance, charm, and carefully rehearsed vulnerability to manipulate everyone around him. Now that he genuinely needed help, nobody believed him. Screenshots from their group chat began circulating. Hannah wrote, "Does anyone else feel like we've been played?" Another friend, Serena, replied, "He told me Evelyn was abusive. Now I find out he was cheating the entire time." Mason entered the conversation. "You don't know the full situation. Then explain it." Hannah wrote, "It's complicated." Serena responded, "It really isn't. You cheated. Got caught. Got fired. And now you're stalking your ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend. I'm not stalking anyone. Someone posted screenshots of all 3 fake accounts. The group chat went silent. Mason left 2 minutes later. I thought that was the end of it. Then, his parents called me. They sounded exhausted and genuinely confused. Mason had told them 3 different versions of the breakup. First, I cheated. Then I abused him. Then I somehow arranged to have him fired. His father asked, "Can you tell us what actually happened?" So I sent them everything. The fake accounts, the messages to Noah, Claire's security footage, the property manager's documentation, the old texts in which Mason admitted he stayed with me because I worshipped him properly and paid for things. Hours later, his father replied, "We are sorry for what our son put you through. We are getting him help." Help meant cutting him off financially until he agreed to therapy and found another job. They also intended to move him back home to another state. That afternoon, an email arrived from Mason. The subject line read, "You've won. Happy." His message blamed me for everything. I had manipulated him into ending the relationship. I had orchestrated Bianca's husband discovering the affair. I had sabotaged his career. I had turned his friends against him. I had trapped him into behaving badly. Then came the final paragraph. "Despite everything you've done, I'm willing to forgive you. We can start over. I'll tolerate your new little boyfriend as part of your apology for now. But eventually he needs to go. You have 24 hours to respond. Or you'll never hear from me again." I forwarded the email to his parents. This is why he needs professional help. His mother called me an hour later in tears. They were coming to collect him that weekend. For the first time since leaving, I believed the story might finally be over. 3 weeks later, Mason published a blog accusing me of narcissistic abuse. And that single decision turned his private humiliation into something millions of people would eventually see. 3 weeks passed. Life became surprisingly quiet. Noah and I settled into a rhythm that still felt unfamiliar because it was so peaceful. We cooked together, argued over board games instead of each other, and spent weekends wandering farmers markets or watching terrible horror movies while eating popcorn that always burned a little because one of us inevitably forgot the microwave. For the first time in almost a year, I wasn't constantly waiting for someone to criticize me. I thought Mason was gone for good. I underestimated how badly he needed the last word. One Monday morning, Claire sent me a link with only 3 words. "You need this." The link led to a blog. The title was dramatic enough to make me sigh before I even opened it. "Surviving Narcissistic Abuse: How I Escaped Emotional Manipulation." He never used my name. Instead, he referred to me as E. Anyone who knew us recognized every detail immediately. According to Mason, I had isolated him from his friends, manipulated him financially, controlled his emotions, destroyed his career, and abandoned him for another man. The moment he tried standing up for himself, he described himself as a victim of an elaborate scheme. He claimed I spent years gaslighting him. He insisted I had carefully planned his breakup, his public humiliation, and even the discovery of his affair. Reading it almost felt surreal. The person he described wasn't me. It wasn't even close. The strangest part wasn't that he lied, it was how completely he believed those lies. I closed the page and refused to read another sentence. Noah looked over my shoulder. "You okay?" "I think he actually believes this." He nodded slowly. "That's what makes people like him dangerous." I thought the blog would disappear into the endless noise of the internet. Instead, Mason made another catastrophic decision. He shared it on LinkedIn. His caption read, "If you've ever survived workplace abuse and emotional manipulation, I know you're not alone." Within hours, former coworkers had seen it. So had partners at the law firm. So had Daniel. Apparently, the agreement Mason signed when leaving, the firm prohibited him from publicly discussing the circumstances surrounding his termination. The blog violated that agreement almost immediately, Less than 48 hours later, Mason received a cease and desist letter, demanding he remove the article and stop making defamatory statements. He ignored it for exactly 1 day. Then Noah unintentionally made everything worse for him. Noah's pet care account had grown steadily over the years. Nearly 50,000 people followed him for practical advice, funny rescue stories, and videos of animals doing ridiculous things. One afternoon, he uploaded something different. He never mentioned Mason. He never mentioned me. The video simply talked about accountability. Some people think karma is revenge. Noah said, while feeding treats to an elderly rescue dog, I think karma is simply the moment when consequences finally catch up to choices. Eventually, the truth introduces itself. That was all. The internet connected the dots anyway. People remembered the fake accounts. They remembered the screenshots. Someone found Mason's deleted blog through cached pages. Another person linked the old comments beneath Noah's story. Within 3 days, the video had more than 2 million views. The comments multiplied faster than anyone could moderate them. This is definitely about that guy who stalked his ex. I can't imagine ruining your own life this completely. Imagine losing someone kind because you thought you were irreplaceable. Then one comment appeared that stopped everyone. Daniel, Bianca's husband, he wrote only 1 sentence. Some people spend their entire lives believing they're the hero, when everyone else only remembers them as the villain. Thank you for treating my family with honesty during all of this. That comment received tens of thousands of likes. News traveled quickly. Mason created another anonymous account, trying to defend himself. People recognized his writing style almost instantly. His replies were reported. The account disappeared before the day ended. A week later, his mother called me. Her voice sounded older than I remembered. I'm sorry to ask this. It's okay. Mason wants us to ask whether you'd consider writing a statement, saying the blog wasn't about you. I closed my eyes. So, the law firm drops the legal threat. A long silence answered me. Yes. I can't do that. I understand. She sounded genuinely relieved that I had answered honestly. Before ending the call, she quietly admitted something. He's in therapy now. Is it helping? The therapist says, progress is possible. I smiled. Hopefully, that's good. She hesitated, but he still believes everyone else caused this. After we hung up, I didn't think about Mason again for several weeks. Life had become too full. Noah and I found a small apartment closer to both our jobs. It wasn't luxurious. The kitchen was tiny. The living room barely fit both our bookshelves. The windows leaked cold air whenever it rained. I loved every inch of it, because every object inside that apartment belonged to people who respected one another. No insults. No comparison. No walking on eggshells. Only laughter. A month after moving in, we adopted an orange rescue cat with enormous ears and endless confidence. The shelter had named him Pumpkin. Noah looked at me. I have another idea. What? Karma. I laughed so hard the volunteers started laughing too. The name stayed. Karma immediately claimed the center of our bed as his personal kingdom. One Saturday afternoon, Hannah invited me for coffee. She apologized again for believing Mason. You know, she said quietly, stirring her drink, he manipulated all of us. She told me stories I had never heard. Money borrowed for emergencies that never existed. Relationships destroyed simply because Mason enjoyed proving he could take someone's partner. Friends quietly competing for his approval because he constantly made them feel lucky to be included. Then Hannah looked directly at me. Do you remember what he always said? I nodded. You'll never find anyone better. She smiled sadly. I don't think he ever understood what better actually meant. What do you mean? He thought better meant more attractive, more successful, more admired. But better isn't about appearance. It's about kindness. She glanced toward Noah, who had just arrived carrying 2 fresh coffees because he somehow remembered Hannah liked oat milk. There are people who spend their lives trying to become impressive, she continued, and there are people who simply make everyone around them feel safe. She smiled again. I think you found the second kind. Several days later, Noah and I were walking through the farmer's market when someone called my name. I turned around. Mason's parents. They were visiting friends nearby. His father walked over first. He shook my hand firmly. I'm glad you got out. His words surprised me. Then he added quietly, we're still trying to... His mother hugged me before turning toward Noah. Take care of her. I will. I know you will. She smiled with genuine warmth. As they walked away, I realized something important. Not everyone who loved Mason approved of what he had become. Some people loved him because they remembered the little boy he used to be. I only knew the man who refused to grow beyond his reflection. Months passed. The blog disappeared. His LinkedIn profile vanished shortly afterward. His social media remained deleted. According to his mother, he found part-time work at a department store while continuing therapy. She admitted he still struggled to accept responsibility. Every setback remained someone else's fault. Every consequence felt unfair. Every apology contained another excuse. I no longer needed updates. They belonged to another chapter of my life. One evening, while Noah and I decorated our apartment for Halloween, Harma chased fake spiders across the living room floor. Noah was laughing so hard, he nearly dropped the box of decorations. I stood there watching both of them. No shouting, no criticism, no impossible standards. Just warmth. Just peace. Just home. For a long time, I believed love meant proving my worth every single day. Mason taught me that affection could be conditional. That admiration had to be earned repeatedly. That mistakes deserved humiliation. Noah taught me something entirely different. Love wasn't keeping score. It wasn't reminding someone they were lucky. It wasn't comparing them to people from the past. It was bringing me coffee because he knew I had a difficult morning. Holding my hand without asking for anything in return. Listening. Laughing. Choosing kindness, even when nobody was watching. Mason once looked me in the eyes and promised I would never find anyone better than him. He was right about only one thing. I never found someone better than the version of him he imagined himself to be. I found someone infinitely better than the man he actually was. Someone genuine. Someone loyal. Someone who made ordinary moments feel extraordinary, simply because we shared them together. That was the difference Mason never understood. Beauty fades. Charm wears thin. Control always collapses. Kindness remains. And in the end, kindness was everything he could never become.